Live from the Black Country.
On FM, on DAB, online, on your mobile.
We are Black Country Radio.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous Hour. My name is Dave, forever an alcoholic. I'd like to say again a big thanks to yourself, Billy, and everybody at the radio here for giving us this opportunity yet again.
A pleasure.
It's great to be here. We're shortly going to be introducing one of our members who are going to share their story with us. But before I do that, I'd like to ask Dec to read the preamble, which is something we use at the start of every meeting. And this tells you very simply what AA is, what it does, and I guess what it doesn't do. Dec.
Thanks, Dave. My name is Dec and I'm an alcoholic. This is the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope for each other, that they may solve the common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
That's great, Dec. Thanks for that. And can we now get our guests today to introduce themselves, please?
Hi, I'm an alcoholic. My name is Sinead.
Hi, Sinead, and thanks for coming along today to share your experience, strength and hope with us. Could you start us off by giving us some idea about your background, your childhood, where you're from, etc.?
Sure. I was raised in Ireland, in County Dublin, just outside of Dublin, so about 4 miles into the middle of nowhere. No buses, very rural, but attended school in the suburbs. I was raised in a house that was characterised by, you never knew where you stood in that house. It was very cold physically, but it was also very cold emotionally. I lived in fear a lot of the time. There was resentment, there was anger, there was violence, but that was the house I grew up in. I grew up with my older brother and I had 2 younger siblings. For one reason or another, and which I will never know, they received very different childhoods to myself and my older brother. God rest his soul, he died a few years ago. But growing up, I attended the local primary school, a country school, very small, and I had a wonderful teacher there who was particularly kind to me on more than one occasion. I had an uncle who I saw one weekend a year, and those people, looking back as I've grown in sobriety, those people I see were put there to give me hope that life could be different and that not all grown-ups were the same. And that was the atmosphere I grew up in. I learned very early on to be resourceful, to clean my clothes with whatever was available, to mend my clothes. We went to school in dirty, torn uniforms. I was the girl that people didn't want to sit beside. It was hard, and it was unnecessarily hard. That's what's been hard to swallow about it, actually. It was so unnecessary. They're not short of money. They're just short on love, it seems. And I work hard every day to forgive them. Growing up, I went to, obviously, a convent school. Everyone in Ireland went to the Catholic school, so it was boys separate to girls. And that was okay. I found socialising difficult. I was desperate to live. I was desperate to see what lay beyond. I wanted to make new friends and have new experiences. I remember that quite clearly. I was determined to have as much in life as I possibly could. And when as I was growing up, drinking was part of the culture, you know. When I was a teenager in the early 90s, all teenagers experimented with drinking and smoking in Dublin. Mm-hmm. And I developed the idea that as a child, I'd seen that grown-ups could do whatever they wanted and they could drink. All grown-ups drank. And if you couldn't drink, that was one thing I learned when I was 6. Some members of my extended family got sober through AA in the early 80s. And it was, if you can't drink, you have to go to AA and you have to stop. And you have to love God and be very religious. And that was the child understanding of
Was the mum and dad drinkers?
I would characterise them as very sick people. I would characterise them as people who really sought to control everything, including their drinking. They were extremely controlling. Everything was monitored. So I would imagine that they controlled their drinking. But yes, they liked to drink and they drank in the house.
But not alcoholically, you don't think?
I would say that they were... I wouldn't like to characterise them as alcoholics, but I've got a fair few uncles and aunties on both sides of the tree. It's up to them to decide what their problem is. But definitely they exercised a lot of control and not a lot of enjoyment from what I can see. So, people who were very sick people.
Can you tell us then when you had your first drink and the sort of the effect that it had on you?
Well, growing up in Ireland, everybody dipped their finger in the Guinness and had a sup of that. Like as a child, that's par for the course. But as a teenager, then I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be popular, and as far as I was concerned, drinking and smoking made you cool. So I started smoking and was choking the life out of myself trying to inhale. God, I was desperate, trying to teach yourself to have the stamina, the physical thing to tolerate it, because I wanted to be cool. God, the torture. And drinking was part of that, so I had to build up the tolerance, because you couldn't be one getting drunk on your first can of Budweiser. You're just a lightweight, I wanted to have the tolerance of a 17-year-old rugby player, you know what I mean? And a 13-year-old child, 14. But yeah, it was about 14, and it progressed through my teenage years like that. And it was the nuns didn't know what to do with me. Here was I drinking, smoking, boyfriends, and
in a convent,
experimenting with the wacky tobacco. And then at the same time, I'm straight A's. I'm representing Ireland in public speaking. I'm off to Budapest and Oxford and all sorts. I mean, they didn't know what to do. It was like this girl's like, she's got all the darkness, she's got all the light. Which way is it going to go? And
which way did it go?
Well, sure enough, the darkness came with me, you see. I tried to run away from the darkness. And I left school and got into a very prestigious university. Again, it was very controlled by the parents. And it was... but when I reached about 18, I booked a one-way ticket to Frankfurt. I couldn't stay there any longer. I couldn't live with the control. I'd had too much of it, and I'd tasted freedom. I'd tasted freedom in the summer working in a cherry factory in Germany, and that was good enough for me. And it says something about it that alternative was better than staying, and I liked it, and I did, and I went off and I started to travel. I made my way. I wanted to see the Alps, so I lied my way into a job in a hotel. Told them I was a great waitress from Dublin, worked in all the best hotels. And sure enough, couldn't carry a plate. And this very kind... And again, another guide was put on my path. And again, the name Michael comes up. And the name Michael is very... pertinent for me because my sobriety date is the 29th September 2010, which happens to be the feast day of Archangel Michael. So I had my uncle Michael as a child. Then this fella Michael in the hotel took me aside and taught me how to carry plates without dropping them. You know, the waiters do it, hold up their arms. And because I needed a job with accommodation. and I got it. And I made my way around Europe, did a lot of travelling. I went back to Ireland for a few years and put myself through university because the old pair didn't want to know. Once I didn't want to be a lawyer, that was it, you're on your own. I said, fine, red rag to a bull, you know, defiant, alcoholic, and by God was I drinking through all of this. Always having a rare old time for myself and really making up, as I saw it, for lost time. I was just living, and it was wonderful. And I was young, and I was untouchable, and I really, really had wonderful adventures. And I got my degree, put myself through it, came out with no debts, delighted with myself, first class honours. Nobody could believe it. Sure, I was drunk in the final exams. You know, I mean, I really was. I was out till 4 o'clock in the morning, ringing people up, asking them what the sixth person on the Monopoly board is. Like, we've got the dog, we've got the iron, what's the sixth one? And they're going, you got an exam at 9 o'clock? I was like, I'll be fine, you know. And then I go into the exam and I come out with a first. I mean, my classmates were sick. Some of them really worked hard, like, you know. And there's me swanning around, like, and then I went off and did more travelling. And it was great. But one of my other addictions, you see, was people. I'm addicted to having a relationship because I felt this hole in my soul that I was filling with drink and adventure and stuff, but I needed somebody to hold my hand and tell me I was okay, and to hold me and to provide some sort of stability. Because looking back, I had, through one way or another, made myself homeless at the age of 18 when I ran away. And so I ran, and I was running for years. I was carrying my house on my back, not really knowing this. I wasn't welcome in their house. It was patently obvious. So there was nowhere to run. So it was down to me to make sure I was all right. And one way of doing that is to have a relationship. And when you have a relationship, you have some sort of stability. And so that was good for me. I wasn't a one-night stand girl. That wasn't my style. I was terrified of hard drugs because I'd seen what they'd done to my cousin. So I played it safe. Stick to the drink and get yourself a fella.
Stick to the drink, you'll be all right. Yeah.
And if you have a fella, that means you're beautiful. And if you have a fella, that means you're okay. And that was an odd thing that went with me everywhere. For all that I travelled, I had some very long relationships in that. Really very codependent, you know. I mean, I hadn't really got a clue who I was, and I sought my identity through other people, you know. What's your favourite colour? Well, why don't you tell me what yours is, and then I'll adjust. and I'll wrap myself into a pretzel so that you like me. And I did that, and I was used, and I used people. And you know, you can trace it all back to what was done to me and around me as a child. And I have, in sobriety, had an awful lot of fantastic therapy all through the NHS. But I had to keep banging on the door. You know, somebody kept telling me, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You've got to tell them how you're feeling. And I got a lot of therapy and processed a lot of stuff, in addition to working the steps and practicing this program.
So at what stage did you realise that you were drinking too much or more than your friends or you?
2007, I was living in Corsica. By this stage, I was nearly married. I was with a fella, and we'd stuck together, and we were travelling around. And I couldn't remember the last day that I hadn't had a drink. But I could remember that I had left my partner, my boyfriend at the time, to do the big work of Sunday morning arrivals at our local little airport, which was a big deal, you know. And I'd left him in the lurch for that and laid in bed with a hangover. And I was ashamed of that. And I tried to stop. And looked at AA on the website, like. I couldn't make head nor tail of the steps, and I'm an intelligent woman, but I could not understand what a moral inventory was. and a spiritual experience, I hear it's a load of hocus pocus. I'm not having that. You know what I mean? I'm not that bad. I'm okay. I just need to ease off it a bit, you know.
How did that work?
I've read my diary since. I think I stayed off the drink for possibly 24 hours. And then had a drink, and then, sure enough, you know, I'm squeezing. I've got the bag of wine in the fridge, the rosé, you know, and I've got it out of the box, and I'm squeezing the last bit out of the tinfoil bag into the glass, you know, trying not to fall over, and the fags going, and really very selfish, very self-centred behaviour. That was me.
I think we're ready for your first record, Sinead.
We've got Alanis Morissette, so is there a story behind?
Well, I think Alanis has probably had her own spiritual experience over the years, and I like her lyrics, but this particular record talks about all the different ways we try and fix ourselves, and none of them work until we actually let go and just trust in a higher power, and that's what the steps have done for me and transformed my life. So I'm very, very grateful for all the highs and lows, because it's brought me to this point.
Great stuff. Let's have a listen to this then.
How about getting off all these antibiotics? How about stopping eating when I am full of? How about them transparent dangling carrots?
Live from the Black Country,
On FM, on DAB, online, on your mobile.
we are Black Country Radio.
Thanks for that track. That was a lovely track, that. It was a lovely track. Okay, so you were telling us before the break that you got to the stage where you felt you needed some help.
Yeah. And then I...
And AA wasn't for you, looking at the website?
No, not at all. It all seemed like a bit of an overreaction and, far too drastic. So I just thought I'll just control my drinking and just make more of an effort to be a nice person. All that moral and philosophical convictions galore, but none of them did me any good over time because I just couldn't keep to them. Because I just liked doing what I wanted to do. And it quickly became evident that I like to do nothing more than to drink. That's what I like to do. Now, I'll disguise it behind attending events and stuff like that, but at the heel of the hunt, if there's no drink involved, I'm not going. And if I have to drive, I'm not drinking at all. Because if I have one drink, I'm like an antichrist, agitated and trying to enjoy myself. So I'd rather have nothing and just grit my teeth and get through it and plaster a smile in my face or whatever. But ultimately, no, very, very nervous in company at this stage. And for one who was so confident, just 10, 12 years before, it was really taking its toll on me. I tried to control my drinking and couldn't, and then decided I didn't mind.
You didn't mind the lifestyle?
Not that I couldn't control it, and I used work. And then I threw myself into my work. My career was really progressing. I was working for some very high-end travel companies, catering to pop stars, royalty and politicians, like quite renowned people. So I was in charge of organising their holidays and making sure the staff were up to scratch. And so really quite important work. And
quite glamorous as well.
Oh, yeah,
lifestyle.
absolutely.
There was a bit of drinking and drugging going on there.
Oh, yeah. But funnily enough, for somebody who lived in Ibiza and Corsica and the French Alps, the only time I ever tried cocaine was in a basement flat in Dublin when I was about 20. And I couldn't... What sort of an idiot cannot get her hands on a bag of cocaine in Ibiza, like, you know what I mean? I couldn't get it for love nor money. And God knows I asked enough people, but it just couldn't make it happen. And that's been my story, It's all about the drink. And, what an idiot. I thought I was great, but there you are. Where was I? Yeah, Corsica. And then my career was taking off and I had some really, really good jobs, but I was drinking and drinking and drinking. And the drinking was impacting the work, but I couldn't see that and I certainly couldn't admit it. And then I had the job of my dreams. And in 2009, I got pregnant. And for one reason or another, which I won't go into, out of respect to my ex-husband, the decision was made to end the pregnancy. And I travelled to London and paid for it, paid about £1,000 for it. And I went back to France and my mind imploded and my whole sense of self imploded. And it was, I ended up being, I think, a little bit psychotic. Just, I wasn't obviously getting any help because that would make sense. And it's hard enough to talk about this stuff in English without trying to do it in French. Like, I speak French, but, it's like, it's hard. So I decided out of shame that I would kill myself. And I knew deep down that I was an alcoholic. And I knew that I would drink myself to death. And I was determined to be dead by my next birthday, which was in July. This was in March. February, March, yeah. By the end of June, I was self-harming to an extent that was getting very dangerous. And my uncle, David, in Canada, called me. And he said, I hear you've been having a few problems. And I started to cry. And he said, and I was like, yeah, I'm having problems. And he said, are you sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, Sinead? And part of my shield melted. And I was crying. And for a month he talked to me. I was drinking. So don't ever tell me that you can't talk to a drinking alcoholic. You absolutely can, because if we don't carry the message to drunks, then who are we carrying it to? Because he saved my life by persisting with me and not giving up on me. He talked, on one particular evening, he talked the knife out of my hand from across the Atlantic. And soon after I was shipped off to Toronto, which I thought sounded very glamorous because Uncle David has a swimming pool. And I thought, yeah, I just need a break. Just been a long year. I was a complete mess. I was a thief. I had stolen an unbelievable amount of alcohol from my previous employer, which I thought would get me through the summer through to September. That was the way I was living. 2 years previous, I couldn't remember the last day I hadn't had a drink. Now the drink is massively in charge of my life. And so I go over to him and I went to my first meeting. And,
Was he in the fellowship?
Oh, David, sorry, yeah, I forgot that bit. He was a year and a half sober at this stage.
Right, okay.
Sorry. Really important bit, but there you go. AA ought never be organised. That's all I say. I'm a traditionalist. So he says he was 18 months sober at that stage. He'd gone to Canada, stayed bone dry for like 25 years, picked up the drink, and then in a short time was bad as ever. Yeah. Didn't die, got sober, and he saved my life. It's as simple as that. And I went there for about 2.5 months. I was sent down to Minnesota to a place called Hazelden for a week. For free. Bizarre. You know, this stuff just happened. And I got a very good grounding in AA. It was very pure and it was very strong messages. I went back to France determined to stay sober. Like, I was so determined. And I went to a meeting, but because I was in the Alps, there was no meetings. And I went to a meeting down in Annecy, about an hour and a half's drive away. And I asked about setting one up. And they said, how long are you sober? I said, 2 months. And they said, oh, you're too young to set up a meeting. And the bottom fell out of my world because of one woman's answer. I didn't seek another answer anywhere else. The alcohol obsession was galloping through my mind because it was like, here's your excuse, here's your excuse, here's your excuse. I didn't hear it that way. I heard, nobody cares. The alcohol was telling me, here's your excuse. But what I heard was, nobody cares. No one is going to help you, Sinead. And I drank again. But bizarrely, very shortly after that, and I do believe this was the hand of God, I got pregnant. And I didn't drink in my pregnancy. I smoked, but I couldn't drink. It kept giving me ice pick headaches. I tried, like the good little alkie that I am. And before she was born, I was saying to my then husband, you know, they told me in AA that if you can't get to meetings, that you can have the odd drink. They told me that. And bless him, he just said, okay, my daughter was born, and I was going to have 2 glasses of wine once a fortnight with the girls. That's my recipe for success.
How did that go?
Oh, that went brilliantly. 3 months later, I'm drinking 6 nights a week. Having 1 glass of wine 6 nights a week. And then on the 7th night, she rested and drank like a fish. And so that was me. That was me to my first child. And you know, you just think, I was obviously insane. A year previously, I'd nearly died because I'd ended a pregnancy. Here I have a brand new baby, and all I could see of her was a burden. And I'm not proud of it, but I say this for women who struggle to love their children. I didn't know how to love her, and I knew that was a shameful thing, but I couldn't tell anyone. And I knew deep down that I was an alcoholic, and I was ashamed of that. And I was going to do it all wrong, and I was ashamed. And then one day, I went and had a drink at lunchtime, and I blacked out after one drink, and I came to 9 hours later, and I didn't know where my husband was or where my baby was, but worse, I didn't care. And, you know, again, I don't say that with pride, but nor am I ashamed of it. These are things that's the onslaught of this illness on your heart and your soul. It destroys every good thing inside you and around you. And it took a while, but I realized I can't do this anymore. I just can't. It's the drink, it's got to go. Everyone had a drink at lunchtime, and I was thinking, yay, session. And they're going back to work and back to their families and back to do the bit of ironing or whatever. And I'm thinking, what? Gotta go home with the baby? Ugh. That's where I was at. And it was the drink, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to stop drinking, damn it, because otherwise I'll lose my daughter, and I cannot cope with that. I'm going to have to go to AA. That really made me want to swear. And I'm just going to have to be boring and live like a nun, and I'll never laugh again, and I'll just be so dull. And
You're painting a really good picture that way.
that was what I thought
what
it
you
was
thought,
called.
yeah.
I couldn't have been more wrong.
No, I know.
I've been in Atlanta with this fellowship. I've travelled the world again. I was in an American film that was filmed partly in the Black Country, in Jewellery Quarter. Now, mind you, the bit I was in ended up on the cutting room floor, so, you know, that doesn't matter. I was on set for 2 days and had an exciting adventure, you know, with big lorry crashing through buildings and all the rest. It was amazing. I've had so much fun. I've tried so many things. And I've grown as a person. I've taken responsibility for my own well-being. I didn't know it was my job to look after myself. I thought I always had to find somebody to do that for me. Where I picked that up, God only knows. I have been a cycle breaker in my family. In sobriety, I realised it came to me that I had been, certain things had happened to me as a child that no child should have to experience. And these came into my consciousness. And I was empowered to find help, to protect my own children, to protect other children, and to heal. To heal these massive wounds, which I thought were resentments, but they weren't. They were deep wounds that needed to be tended to and emptied and filled with goodness. And they are. And today I am comfortable with my story. I'm comfortable with who I am. I know I could lose 10 pounds and be gorgeous, but I like to eat nice food. So I like a nice curry. I've found out about curries since living in England. Came here when the eldest was a year old, because I wasn't getting better in France. There were no meetings in the Alps. I was driving 2 hours up to Chamonix. Like, Chamonix is in the Alps, but like there was no meetings near me in English. And so I drive 2 hours up to Chamonix on a Tuesday night for an hour with 5 people. Oh my God, the willingness I had to get sober. Because I believed in this program. I believed people when they said that you can be happy, joyous and free and not drink. You can have a barbecue and enjoy yourself and not drink. I didn't know how to do that. And I had to learn because I couldn't drink anymore. The drink was only going to win. It was only going to kill me. And it was going to take my daughter first. And it was going to kill me slowly in that really unglamorous way that it has with women, in that we get decrepit, like hags, you know, and I just didn't want to be that woman. I'm too vain. I got sober on my character defects, would you believe? I got sober out of spite. I'll show the rest of yous. And I got sober out of vanity. I don't want to end up like that, you know.
But you got sober, that's the main thing.
And the main thing was I got sober.
How long is it since you had your last drink? Can you tell us? You did mention it earlier on.
29th of September 2010.
Wow, 13 years.
13 years. And
Well done.
like that date has been phenomenal for me. My whole life pivots around it.
Yeah.
My Uncle Edward was born on that day. My grandfather died on that day. All in different years, obviously. I got sober on that day. The Papal Mass was celebrated in Dublin on that day. Right. It's the feast day of Archangel Michael. I mean, there's just too much.
So much.
They told me, you get a sobriety date and you stick to it.
Yeah.
And that's your job. And God will look after the rest as long as you're willing to be honest and open with these people in AA and work the steps. And I didn't know how to do that either. So I had to ask. And we hate asking for help. Hate it.
I think we're ready for your next record, Sinead. Sorry
All right,
to interrupt there.
Florence and the Machine.
You've got the love.
You've got the love. It says it all.
It does, doesn't it?
Here we go.
Sometimes I feel like throw my hands up in the air. I know I can count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. But you've got the love I need to see me through. Sometimes it seems the going is just too rough, and things go wrong no matter what I do. Now and then it seems like the life is just too much, but you got the love I need to see me through. When food is gone, you are my daily need. Oh, when friends are gone, I know my Savior's love is real. You know it's real. You got the love. 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 Time after time, I think, oh Lord, what's the use? Time after time, I think it's just no good. 'Cause sooner or later in life, the things you love, you lose. But you've got the love I need to see me through. You got the love. 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 Sometimes I feel like throw my hands up in the air. I know I can't count on you. Sometimes I feel like saying, Lord, I just don't care. 'Cause you got the love I need to see me through. Black country extra.
Great, that was another lovely track, Sinead. Thanks for that. Before we start again, can I ask Dec to cover the contact details for those people that are listening out there?
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, there's many ways to contact us as always. The easiest way is to if you go to a search engine and search for Alcoholics Anonymous UK, and it's normally the top one. It'll take you to the home page for the UK site. In there you'll get the various information. You've got the free phone number, which is 0800 9177 650. That's 0800 9177 650. You can always contact us via email if you wish, which is help@aamail.org. There's a lovely little feature called Find a Meeting, and if you put your postcode and any day of the week in and hit the go button. It will tell you all the meetings within your area, the days of the week and the times. And finally, there is a live chat feature where you can type in your question and a relay member will type back to you with the information that you require. If anybody's struggling, please give us a shout on any of the ways mentioned. Thank you.
Thanks, Dick. That's great. And just before the break, Sinead, you were telling us that you're just on 13 years sobriety. Did you ever imagine that you'd get that length of sobriety under your belt when you first came in?
Absolutely not. No. Absolutely not. 7 months sober, I remember saying to a woman, I haven't had a drink for 7 months and I am as miserable as sin. When do I get my happy, joyous and free? And she said, you keep doing what you do one day at a time and your life will change. Yeah. Keep working the steps. Don't drink, don't die. And then it'll be your turn. Again, with this vanity, it'll be your turn to help someone else. And I thought, well, you're obviously insane, because who in the right mind is ever going to want help from a wretch like me that can't stop crying? You know, I mean, I was just completely broken, crippled. My emotional state was deformed beyond all, out of all shape, warped. And but the steps straightened me out. And I did need a lot of professional help. And that straightened me out. I had to get a sponsor. I had to be willing to go to any lengths. I had to do things I didn't want to do and not do the things I wanted to do. Like, apart from the steps. But I'm talking in actual life, you know. I'd be like, oh, she's coming up the drive. I'd be on the phone to my sponsor. She's coming up the drive. I don't want to let her in. Oh, God, what am I going to do? And he'd say, what would you normally do? I said, I normally invite her in for a cup of coffee. And he said, well, invite her in for a cup of coffee. No, I'm not doing that. Fine, then suffer. And he'd hang up the phone. And because I knew the right thing was, what's the right thing? And this is what AA has taught me, to do the right thing, regardless of how I feel about it. And invite the person in for coffee and make those connections with people so I can learn to live in this world by being powered by the higher power. I'm operating on a spiritual power, and I'm learning how to engage with people, how to set boundaries. It's like walking through a wall of fire for me. You know, set a boundary, ask someone to cease and desist, you know, because you're not, I'd really feel more comfortable if you would not do X, Y, and Z. That is excruciating for me to say that. So I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to be grateful. I didn't know how to be great. 10 things you're grateful for. You joke, and I come up with 7. And I was beating my head against the wall trying to think of them. Oh, you must be so grateful for your baby. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, she's so healthy. Yeah, she does. She's got a great pair of lungs on her, all right, you know. And it was like, just no idea of what it was to be a sober person. Like, what I remember said to somebody, what does serenity feel like? I had no idea what I was praying for, you know. If I'm going to ask for serenity, I want to know what it feels like. What is that? And now I know, because I've experienced rare moments of it in sobriety. And those rare moments, they're like jewels in the grass. You know, we find them when I am completely engaged in the moment. I find them sitting on the back of my partner's motorbike when I am with my eyes closed and the sun on my face and the wind on my face. And I'm completely in that moment. Right here, right now. I am not thinking about anything, past, present, or future. I'm just here. That is serenity, and it's so rare, but I tell you what, getting up at 6 a.m, saying my prayers, doing my bit of meditation, try and grow spiritually, sponsor people, go to meetings, do your bit of service, be of service to your family, be of service to your community. Like, all of this stuff, I got out a big book. I didn't get it anywhere else. I don't really read the other literature, I'll be honest. I've got it all, and it's all pristine. I'm at him to put up bookshelves for books I've never even read. The poor man, like, you know. The patience of Job, he must have. Well, he constantly reminds me he has the patience of Job, and I'm like, yeah, well, I'm caring the community, you know. But we get on so well, and I found love in later life. I had to leave my husband. Our marriage was not meant to last. It didn't survive my recovery, because when I came out of this process, I was the real Sinead, the Sinead that I was always meant to be, the Sinead that God wanted me to be, the higher-powered Sinead, not full of darkness. All the darkness is gone. It's only there if I pick it up. And a day at a time, I do my level best not to pick it up. But, you know, I'm human. I'm absolutely human, and I make mistakes. I've found a depth of love and joy for my eldest daughter. And I am in awe of her and how transformative her presence in my life has been. She has no idea, and I pray one day she will understand, even just a tiny bit, how much I love her, and I'm grateful for what she brought into my life. And my youngest daughter, who is an amazing character, full of creativity, absolutely bonkers. Love the very bones of those girls. I have a civil relationship with their father. Now, that is something beyond my human capabilities. I am the person who wants to nail people's feet to the floor while I take to them with a baseball bat. And for minor incursions.
Remind me not to upset you then.
No, but that's me at my worst. You know, all the anger comes out. But then this program takes over and provides healing, so I can have I can have a chat with him at the gate. My partner can have a chat with him. I mean, my partner share a love that defies all understanding. It really does defy understanding. We're so different, and yet we laugh an incredible amount. We love an incredible amount, and yeah, we have a row because we're human. It's not Little House on the Prairie, you know, Nat Jim Bob, you know. I feel like that on Zoom meetings, you know, it's the Brady Bunch, you know, the characters in the screen. Nat Jim Bob, bye, Mary Lou, you know.
That's
and
the
then
in the American Zoom meetings,
yeah,
a bit like that, don't they?
in the Black Country, it's like, how am you?
How am you?
How am you? All right, Bab. Yeah.
Oh, bless you, bless you. You mentioned sponsorship and service and stuff there.
Yeah.
I think you know, doing service is about. We don't do it for ego or for praise, or we just do it because we want to give back
what was so freely
what
given.
was given to us.
Yeah.
And how that's improved our lives, and we just want to see people get well, don't we?
Yeah.
And it's a lovely, lovely thing to do.
It's amazing. And when I sponsor somebody, I like to have at least one newcomer on the go, because that gives me an opportunity to carry the message and to fulfill that bit of the 12th step. Yeah. It reminds me, it gives me grace, it teaches me patience and tolerance. And again, I'm not the perfect sponsor, but I know how devastating this illness is, so I am pretty tough, and because people were tough with me. Yeah. People were like, no, you're not going to mess about with this. You're either going to do half measures of age and nothing, Sinead.
You've really got to want it.
You have got to. I had to want this more than I wanted to breathe. Yeah. It was because I know I needed to live. You know, I have had very dark times in sobriety, and I'm not ashamed of it, because I have mental health problems, quite severe ones, and I've had really dark times. And in those times, the fellowship of AA has come to me and put its arms around me and held me up and been my scaffold while I put myself back together. Well, God put me back together, you know. I
think what AA teaches us, doesn't it, albeit initially it's just get you off the drink, but it teaches you how to cope with life.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer. I think the 12-step program should be taught in primary school.
Yeah.
Because it's a way of life, isn't it? It's not just about not drinking.
No.
It's about all the stuff that you've talked about, you know, interacting with people and giving back and helping. It's beautiful. It's
being tolerant to people, being patient,
absolutely,
you know.
Absolutely.
Just being a decent human being.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're living proof that there is you said a satisfying and enjoyable life after drinking.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who are listening out there, who think they may have a problem with drinking?
Well, normal people don't go around questioning their drinking. That's what I'd say. People who aren't alcoholics don't think about drink. They just don't. They just have one or they leave one or whatever. It isn't on the menu. It doesn't have to be. If you're trying to control your drinking, you've already lost control. You've already lost control. Yeah. And sooner or later, it will hurt enough that you will be afraid of your next consequence. Or maybe you're capable of controlling it. I don't know. But I know that when it hurts enough, we will do anything to survive. Or, well, I don't know why some people get sober and some people don't. But I do know that if you're worried about your drinking, there is a better way of life. I found it. You can have it too, but you're going to have to work for it.
Lovely. Okay, I think we're about out of time, Sinead. Thank you so much for coming along today and for your openness and honesty. It's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to listen to you. It really has. I think we're ready for your last record.
We are, yeah. I don't know if it's the right word to say, but I think this is the best. This is the best AA show that you've done. It's just been wonderful. The story's just incredible. You know, you should be incredibly proud of yourself and what you've achieved, really. We're going out on Jess Glynn, and again, I suppose it speaks for itself. Don't be too hard on yourself, and that's a message everybody can have, really. And it's we do mental health programs on here, and we do different groups, and it's a message that everybody can have. So, pleasure. Look forward to the next one. And here's Jess Glynn, and don't be so hard on yourself, and we'll see you all next time.
I came here with a broken heart that no one else could see. I drew a smile on my face to paper over me. But wounds heal when tears dry and cracks they don't show. So don't be so hard on yourself, no. Let's go back to simplicity. I feel like I've been missing me. Was not who I'm supposed to be. I felt this darkness over me. We all get there eventually. I never knew where I belong, but I was right and you were wrong. Been telling myself all along. Don't be so hard on yourself, though. Learn to forgive, learn to let go. Everyone trips, everyone falls. So don't be so hard on yourself, though. 'Cause I'm just tired of marching on my own. Kind of afraid I feel it in my bones. Won't let my heart turn into stone. So don't be so hard on yourself, no. I'm standing on top of the world, right where I wanna be. So how can this dark cloud keep raining over me? But hearts break and hell's a place that everyone knows. So don't be so hard on yourself, no. Let's go back to simplicity. I feel like